I don't think any of us can really wrap our head around what really happened to her and how it happened and how a person could do this.
Predator. I mean, he was a predator.
Audrii didn't make this choice. She didn't choose to come down here and jump in this damn water.
She was my first little girl.
This loophole failed her, it failed Audrii.
We want to make sure that if we help just one other child avoid this kind of a sexual predator, we will have honored her name.
I'm optimistic that she is going to be found. Right now, I don't believe it's going to be one of them happy endings.
What in that moment made you think that?
I think I was optimistic. When the clothes were found, then I was more optimistic. But then when we did all that searching, then I kind of thought, you know what, we've lost her. She's gone, we lost her.
Have you been back here since Audrii was found?
I came back here one time and looked at it. I spent a lot of time here and a lot of time, and oh my God, and I think when we was doing all that stuff way down the river and everything, at the end of the day, it was like, oh my God, is this one of them that's never going to be found? It's never going to be found. And then I just remember, and I said, I'm going to start at point A again. I'm going to start there again.
What do you remember most about the effort trying to find Audrii, being in this area?
Well, we didn't start out in this area, but then we knew that he came over here, and so then our people started searching here, and then they found a tent down there by the water that was tied up, and then there was some of Audrii's clothes. And then, with it being this isolated and everything out here, it was like, oh my God, he threw her in the water. He threw her in the water.
Well, Audrii was our little angel. As you can see in the picture, she's a beautiful young lady. She was full of life.
Happy birthday!
That child had a sense of humor. Her birthday party, her last one, she just decided to break out in some random goofy dance just because that was her. You know, hey, you know what? I need to make someone laugh.
She was such a happy child.
She was my buddy. We loved dealing with all the animals. We're both avid animal lovers.
What are you walking?
She would help with anything. She just wanted to help.
You're walking Herbie?
Herbie, come on. You're doing a walk.
Don't get tangled.
What was it about Audrii's case that made it different than everybody else's?
You know, when there's a child missing, and in circumstances like this and things that we kind of heard and knew about this suspect and everything, It's almost like there was a new shot of energy and determination with everybody. Because, you know, many of the cases that we do, people kind of put their self in a situation. They made their own choices, and unfortunately the choice they made, it ended up in their death. Audrii didn't make this choice. She didn't choose to come down here and jump in this damn water. She didn't choose the things that happened to her. And so I think that since she didn't have a voice for all this, and we all became the parents and the voice, and we chose not to quit. Somebody else chose to do something, we chose not to quit.
She was my first little girl, you know, my first child. And I had her when I just turned 18, so my entire adult life has been being a father. And I'm glad that I was given that opportunity.
Do it. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
More than 48 hours have passed, and 11-year-old Audrii Cunningham is still missing.
We're actively following leads, and so that's exactly what we're doing here now. We've got boats that are in the water, and we've also got dogs that are down there as well. Our hope is that with all the equipment that we're bringing in here, that we can bring her home safely.
You know, early on when I first got here, I said, I can guarantee one thing. Audrii is in a place that she did not choose to be. Somebody else made a choice.
Detectives in Polk County say they now have a person of interest. 42-year-old Don Stephen McDougal.
He was supposed to be taking her to the dropping off at the bus stop, and we do feel at this point that he was the last person who seen Audrii.
I was actually at my office, and I was kind of following the case a little bit and everything, and then we got the call, and they just wanted foot searches and stuff, and I brought my boat.
What told you inside, I gotta search right here? What was calling you here?
A Texas Ranger actually brought the suspect down here one time after these clothes were found, and he was parked over by the boat ramp, and that ranger said, "Did you put her in this water?" And he said, "Well, she might be there."
He said that?
Yeah. He said, "Well, she might be there." He's kind of halfway playing games and stuff. At that moment, when the clothes were found, we knew something had happened to her, of course. But we was wondering if he just brought her out here and raped her and threw her clothes, but how the clothes were tied up in that tent and stuff, it was like, you know, what in the hell is this all about? The last thing I thought was that she was going to be tied off and weighted down. I never ever expected that. So we had several boats and even a helicopter and stuff, and God, we did so much this river for miles and miles and miles. And but then I decided I'm going to concentrate right here. Because without her floating and being found, it was like, let's start from point A. And point A was right here. And again, there was a lot of luck. There was a lot of luck.
This is a location of interest. We are bringing in divers as well. Again, this is all an effort to uncover additional leads.
And when I got that one image, it's like, oh my God, that's her. That is her. And I showed that to some of the divers, that image, and they said, no. I got with the Texas Rangers, I showed them, I said, listen, I'm positive I do enough this sonar, I'm positive That is our little girl right there. And then again, that Monday they dove on it and couldn't get to it. So then they made a choice of closing the dam, and the best choice they ever made. So the water went down, and then on Tuesday they went and dove and they located her. And I was in the hospital, and then when I got the call that they found her, and it was like, yes.
Where was she at?
She was just on the other side of this metal, on all this steel down there.
Have you ever taken anybody here to show where she was found?
No, this is the first. Yeah, this is the first. It's unbelievable coming back here and looking at this again and really now digesting the whole search effort.
This time, I sadly announced that Audrii's body was located at the Trinity River on the U.S. Highway 59. As a result of today's developments, I will discontinue the Amber Alert for Audrii.
He had been in prison, and we knew all about that. And we checked the registry, there was nothing there. So we agreed to help him. And then, 2 years later, this tragedy happens, and we don't understand it because Audrii offered him nothing but kindness.
It's probably the most difficult thing to comprehend.
Yes.
She didn't care what you looked like. You could have tattoos, you could be you and I could be scared half to death of somebody, and she'd walk up and say, "Hi, I'm Audrii, how are you?" She was non-judgmental. We're raised into fearing a certain look. And that's the thing, is everybody looks at the exterior of somebody and makes that judgment, and I'm guilty too. She didn't.
Hello. I'm trying to try.
I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes it's, I still have my son, so I have to be strong and I have to keep going and act like nothing's even happening. And at the same time, my whole world is completely different. Some days it feels like everything's moving way too fast, and other days everything's just too slow, but nothing's ever right.
She was just full of spirit. And that's probably the biggest tragedy, is that her light she had around her is gone.
It's simple. He's a child killer. He is a coward. That's why he can only look at his feet. He can't look at himself. He can't look at anybody else. He's a coward. He knows he's a coward.
On a person like that, I don't think there's any words that could be said to a person like that would even register in their head. So, the best thing is just walk away and keep your damn mouth shut. Because you can't say, "Man, why'd you do this?" And everybody, including me, we got all the questions and we want to answer. But you know what? There's not one answer we could ever get that's going to be satisfied. If they tell 100% the truth, it still doesn't make any sense.
That was chapter 1. Chapter 2 just closed recently when, and I'm not going to use his name, the perpetrator, he pled guilty and agreed to life in prison without the possibility of parole or appeal. So he's taken responsibility for it. but the hurt doesn't go away. It's going to take us a while to forgive him.
It is about making sure that this doesn't happen again.
We've started a nonprofit called Justice for Audrii, and we want to make sure that if we help just one other child avoid this kind of a sexual predator, we will have honored her name. And so we're blessed to meet Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers, and he said he would love to help us bring to the Texas legislature Audrii's Law, which is designed to help close the loophole that we missed. It's a loophole that doesn't require sexual offenders who plea bargain down to a lesser charge to have to register in the sex offender program.
Basically, the gist of the bill is anyone that's convicted of an offense in which there's a sexual element like a child grooming, which is what State Representative Ashby has filed, will be now required to register as a sex offender. But the important thing is, what can we do to prevent this from happening in the future and keep more Audrii Cunninghams from happening? And passing this law, Audrii's Law, will do that.
It should have been common sense. This shouldn't, you know, even if it's enticing a child or grooming a child, you are a sexual predator and you should be on that list.
You know, this loophole failed her, it failed Audrii. God knows how many other kids it's failing or has failed, you know.
The goal is for Audrii's Law not just to be here in Texas. You want to take it across the country?
Once we have it passed in Texas, we want to take a look at other states to see if there is a deficiency there. I don't know how the sex offender registry works across the country yet. If there's any other states that have loopholes, we would be willing to work through Crime Stoppers to get laws passed in those states.
As a parent, you can't be more proud of what your child does and what they achieve in life. I can only imagine, albeit, you know, only 11 years old, the impact that she's going to have on lives across Texas and eventually, hopefully, across the country. I can only imagine that you're incredibly proud.
I've always been incredibly proud of my daughter.
My biggest thing is so many people came together, so many people showed love for a child that some of them knew, some of them didn't.
And in Audrii's name, if we can help save one child, it's worth it.
Easily. With one law change, one simple rule change.
Her story went around the world. You know, people from around the world were invested in Audrii and wanting her so badly to come home safe.
It's a feeling you can't match. There's no words, you know. It shows that God's still out there, and a lot of people, it shows that people still care. You know, it shows that every bit of what Audrii stood for still in this world.
Also, we were looking at the community. It's about healing for our community.
Her legacy began the day that this community pulled together.
I remember exactly like yesterday. Exactly like yesterday. Exactly. No, this is one of them that when I drive over this bridge and go to another search or I'm going somewhere, I mean, it hits me and I kind of get a little tear in my eye and I get a little smile on my face. A year later, and if I'm still alive 10 years from now, it'll still be the same. It'll still be the same. Yep. It'll still be the same.
What's it like standing here looking out at this river now? I mean, it's so calm, it's so peaceful.
You know, there's a little bit of comfort still. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of sadness knowing what she went through and being put here, but again, there's some comfort knowing at least she was found, and she never would have been. She never would have been to this day, so there would have always been questions and, you know, did they have enough on the suspect at that time? And so, you know, it all played out, I guess, exactly how God wanted it to play out. We was just that small little part. I didn't pick Texas Search. I think they picked me because I remember when my daughter Laura disappeared and the police said she was a runaway and we could get no help, none, zero. And going through 17 months before her body was accidentally found. And I remember every minute of that 17 months of helplessness and hopelessness and fear and you know, after Laura's body was found, I just made a promise to God and Laura I could never leave a family alone, and because I know what that felt like. When Audrii's body was actually located, I said, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. Because if it wouldn't be for her disappearance and her death, I sure the hell wouldn't be doing this. So again, I think God had a different plan for me than I had, and I think about Laura every day and miss her, and nobody will replace her, but because of that, we was part of Finding Audrii.